Live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 42nd Platform and Treasury Council meeting. Today, we'll cover governance initiatives, platform developments, and upcoming proposals. I've posted the agenda in the chat. These bi-weekly meetings keep the community informed, give proposers direct access to the council, and maintain transparent communication across our global ecosystem. What we are building. We're creating the Internet of Money. 7 billion mobile users can send data instantly, but still truly own or move money. The Telcoin Association is changing that by building the Telcoin network and TEL as the blockchain standard for global telecommunications. Telecom operators already run the internet. With Telcoin network, they'll also secure the blockchain, bringing accessible digital finance to every mobile subscriber worldwide. Platform architecture. It's 3 integrated layers. The Telcoin network, an EVM-compatible Layer 1 blockchain validated exclusively by GSMA mobile network operators, creating a new revenue stream for telecoms. Secondly, TELX, a liquidity layer for user-owned self-custodial exchanges. And third, the TAN, mobile apps that connect users to blockchain services and each other. 4 minor groups, shared governance. We have validators, GSMA MNOs, liquidity miners, developers, and stakers all participate equally. Each group earns fees and TEL rewards for their contributions. This alignment turns participants into owners and defenders of the network. TEL token and governance. TEL is the gas token, staking asset, and governance token. The Telcoin Association is a Swiss Verein governed by 5 elected councils. Our Platform and Treasury Council oversees sustainable platform development and responsible token economics. Why it matters. Every decision we make brings us closer to uniting telecom operators and billions of users around shared blockchain infrastructure, where money moves as easily as data on any mobile phone. As your elected representatives, we're committed to careful proposal review, transparency, and faithful execution of the governance network. With that, let's move into today's agenda. So first, we're going to have a recap of the last meeting. So the quick recap of the 41st Platform and Treasury Council meeting. We were informed of significant updates to production hardening and security patches. The BLS precompile overhaul has been completed, covering security for new validators to securely stake and actively participate in the protocol. New features installed, called XX for non-validator nodes, execution extensions, to support app developers to have direct access to blockchain data within the node itself. If there are any devs interested in finding out more about developing on the network, to email us at devs@telcoin.org. Security assessments were beginning. Also a focus on base fee adjustments around the epoch boundary and having a single discovery strategy for all nodes designed to reduce the burden on validators. Ecosystem development, Grant and team met with MNO integration teams and infrastructure partners to advance big RPC providers and explore a real-world use case to implement later this year. There were 15 nodes connected to one of the validator nodes, and the testnet is going well and preparing for mainnet. Blue Lights gave us an update on the Unified Web project. It has moved into phase 3 of 3 and in the building stage. The TEL IP token upgrade was also discussed and introduced to the community. We had a walkthrough of why the upgrade was needed and why the TEL token needs to be an 18 decimal token. Over the last 8 years, the market standard has adopted the 18 decimal setup. So once migrated, the general ability of the TEL token will be a lot more streamlined and able to integrate a lot easier. The upgraded token will be a true burn and mint setup, have security checks completed, and will support EIP 2612 and EIP 3009, and support modern payment flows, verifiable, and the supply of 100 billion TEL never changes. As a holder, you will get a token that is accepted by aggregators, bridging, lending, and custodians in the EVM network that can be integrated out of the box that will support structural on-chain demand as TEL will be used for gas. And there's a lot of other updates as well regarding the TEL V3, but we will pass through some of those details. Also, dashboards are being developed for node operations. It's also expected that the MNOs will deliver banking facilities on mainnet and bring together a unified ledger in global markets. and our contracted advisor is doing a great job helping to bring this together. These updates reflect steady, careful progress as the ecosystem moves through its final hardening phase. So now with the recap done, we're going to move on to the Telcoin network and new updates. Grant, if you're there, take it away.
All right. Thanks, James. For Telcoin network updates, I think the headline is really that we had our first security audit findings for Telcoin network's core contracts shared with the protocol team yesterday. The findings were all really relatively minor. We had a few mediums, a few lows, and mostly informational findings. So there's no criticals, there's no high severity issues. We're working through them now. And once that's complete, the core smart contracts for mainnet are going to be done. And that code is going to be frozen. There's no more changes. So, just to kind of register what that means, for years, mainnet has just been a destination. But now with the code freeze in these core contracts, it's a moment where things are starting to become real. The fixed thing, it exists, it's been audited, and now it's ready to be shipped. Beyond that audit, the past few weeks have been really heavy focus for production hardening across all areas of the stack. We have made security passes through the way that validator BLS keys are stored on their computers. Peer-to-peer networking has been a lot of overhauls, including performance increases. We've addressed denial of service attack surfaces and added redundant protections there to make sure that validator nodes stay online. We've even gone so far as to begin working on a worker gateway that node operators can scale up to prevent just an easy attack surface for cheap attacks. So that would ultimately just disrupt services. So, ultimately, individually, these changes are all unglamorous. But together, they're really coming together, and it's going to be the difference between our testnet and the network that the mobile network operators run in production. So the MNO validator nodes are getting prepared exactly for that, and we're continuing to get a lot of great feedback and staying in close contact with those operators. Final note is on security. Well, I guess we are, just one more. I thought we're coordinating with the next round of assessments once these contracts findings have been evaluated and approved. Basically, that the security researchers will go back through and review our changes, make sure that we didn't introduce any other issues and that we addressed their original findings. And so that follow-up audit is going to be for the execution engine. And that evaluates how our EVM transactions are executed after the protocol reaches consensus. So with that, we'll have the consensus and those core contracts out of the way. The next big layer is our execution layer. After that, we are really, really close to attacking all services that we're concerned about for mainnet. Layer by layer, they'd be independently reviewed. So all in all, a lot of great momentum, a lot of good updates, and that's the network updates. I'll stick around to answer any questions for Telcoin network related questions at the end of the call.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Grant. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate all your hard work. We know you've been burning the candle at both ends, so really appreciate everything you're doing over there.
Thanks, y'all.
Awesome. So now we'll move on to the unified web update. Blue Lights, if you're there, if you could just give us an update with where we are currently, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, James. So as many of you know, we're in the final phase now, phase 3 of 3, which is the building phase. It kicked off last week. Not a huge amount to report back this week, but we do have our first demo session tomorrow for the first week of build. So we will get to see, what's happened and where we're going. But overall, they're going to be, hopefully, as we get through the weeks, it's up to 12 weeks, could be sooner. This is just the end of week 1. But as we progress, then probably we'll have stuff to show the community. I mean, you've all seen the UI designs already. This is just literally building that all up now and getting it all ready, and then we can get the site ready to launch out to the public. So we'll keep giving you updates and provide some visuals if we can. But yeah, looking forward to the demo tomorrow, and the next meeting we'll be able to report back more progress.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Buat, and I appreciate all the work you're doing. I know you're spearheading that along with Derek. So yeah, appreciate all you guys' work on that. All right, so now let's move on to the next topic on the agenda. Is going to be the TELIP, the TEL token upgrade. I think Grant will have you back on for that section. So I'll let you go from there.
Awesome. Let's do it. So since the last global meeting, we've had some significant developments, a lot of good feedback, and a lot of internal discussion and external, suggestions. I think all the council members have been, a lot of listening involved. So first, the upgraded TEL contracts have already been audited, and the results are good. So rather than waiting for approval and risking a mainnet timeline, Telcoin Holdings actually decided and to act within its capacity as a commercial member of the ecosystem to fund the audit in good faith, under the understanding that it's reimbursed only and if only the association approves the proposal. So if the proposal is not approved, Holdings will eat that cost. And that's just kind of how important the upgrade is. So I think it's nice too, because the councils now have an opportunity to vote on audited code rather than just promises about future audits and what that would entail. So anyway, we got the report back yesterday. There was a few low findings. Some of them are even outside of our concerns, but mostly just informational, and a few gas optimizations, which is great. We love the gas optimizations, especially for the permissionless migration and upgrade that we're looking to support. So again, no mediums, highs, or criticals, and I'll be publishing that report on the GitHub repo with the smart contract code that's already publicly available once that's all finalized. All right. So second, we've also refined some of the upgrade mechanics, and that refinement is really directly to answer the community's biggest concerns. And so I want to kind of provide how I think it should work now. During the first 12 months, users would transfer legacy TEL to the upgrade contract, and that upgrade contract would mint the upgraded TEL back to the user that sent it. And this is very easy arithmetic. It's a one-for-one exchange on the chain that the user was already on. And at month 12, the remaining unminted TEL, whatever the difference is minted so that we reach our fixed 100 billion token supply. We're able to verify and ensure that supply cap cannot be exceeded during this initial 12-month phase because of a hard-coded 100 billion token supply cap in the contracts. So once that minting ends, that on the migration contract, that's permanent. But from that remainder, half will go into a one-way vault that will continue to support permissionless decentralized transfers, where users who can come in after those 12 months, call the contract and exchange their old TEL for new TEL in a 1-to-1 ratio. And that just is, there's no intermediary or permission. It's just gas fees on the network that you're already on. That other half, though, would be secured under Compliance Council administration and through their CCI process. And that would be a future retrieval through whatever governed process is decided through the Compliance Council's oversight. So I want to be precise about what that actually changes. The community is asking, what stops unclaimed tokens from simply being swept away? What guarantees, my rights as a token holder to upgrade late? So I think the answer is that now it's enforced in code and in our governance structure. So the late claim path is permissionless. You can still access tokens up to that initial 50% offset, but the supply cap is going to be 100 billion, with minting closed forever at that month 12 through the migration contract. The administered half will go with the Compliance Council to oversee that through CCIP, and their entire mandate is to protect, not to spend. So I personally think that's a much I'm glad that it's kind of outside the scope of the TELIP. It's not really in the purview of like as a Treasury Council member to oversee that. I think the Compliance Council is well equipped and have proven track record of being responsible in protecting all members of the association. Third, I want to share that the schedule itself is just a suggested framework. That final rules are going to be set in public before they matter. The contract itself has an initial expiration window that will set to 12 months, but the logic enforces and allows for that window to be extended. It also rejects any decrement of that window. So once that initial upgrade window is extended, it is contractually through the code, it is guaranteed to be at least that long. And the proposal now is going to empower and require the Compliance Council to submit their own CCIP and TELIP within the first 9 months of after the upgrade commences, right? And that's going to finalize the upgrade periods, clarify the late retrieval process, and the association's handling of any unclaimed TEL. And I think what that also does is it gives them an opportunity to get real participation data rather than just figuring it all out in the initial form proposal. So 9 months in is our target with real data, decisions based on this real data, and the public proposal, and all before the month 12 checkpoint ever arrives. If for whatever reason, that needs to be extended, we can. But nothing about that long tail of this upgrade is decided unilaterally, and this is going to take multiple stages because it is a really big undertaking, and it's a huge opportunity for Telcoin Network and for the association and for the TEL token to finally become a standard ERC20. My fourth update I wanted to share was that the costs, and because the community's asked for those numbers and absolutely deserve them, so we've done a lot of research into that, so I will share the integration costs to bring the primary exchanges through this upgrade are $165,000. That is just integration fees. In addition, these exchanges are also going to require a backstop of $250,000 to $500,000 worth of TEL that will be traded to a stable coin at market rates. And that's basically just required during the transition so that they can make the markets, they can support the exchange demand and help throughout that process. But that liquidity is essentially a borrowed to the exchange so that they can facilitate the trading. This is not an actual cost. We, as an association, would retain that value, either in TEL or USDC or EUSD, whatever stable coin is part of the arrangement per the exchange. So to wrap it up, we have on the TEL3 front, we have audited code so that councils can make an informed decision about before we jump into this. We have clarified and refined the permissionless claim path for users. We have the cap supply with the minting that will be closed at month 12. Yeah, and I think the final policies are going to be set by Compliance Council and the public based on real data after we have time to evaluate and have more time to discuss as an association and as a community. So the costs are on the table, and yeah, we'll be continuing to update anything else on the actual forum. So yeah, I guess at this time, before we get too much further down, are there any questions from the councils? And if not, I think I'm also prepared to walk through the FAQs if that would be helpful. I think it'd probably take me a couple minutes, but we could just maybe talk about what's already been posted on the FAQ page and just the latest updates from the past few days.
Yeah, unless anybody is going to hop on now, or maybe they might save it for the Q&A. But I think if we go to the FAQs now, that would make sense. I think a lot of the FAQs really answered pretty much. That's what we tried to do anyways, answer all the questions. So I think they cover pretty much all the bases. So
yeah, good point. All righty then, we'll run through these. So the FAQs have been, it's a living document. It's meant to be, edited over time as we get more information, as we hear more questions. So, rather than reading every entry, I'll just talk through some of the big things. So one, what happens to my TEL? That's, I'm nothing will be taken. Okay, nothing changes in what token holders own. The balance will stay the same. It's 1-for-1, but you do need to upgrade. There's 10,000 TEL would become 10,000 TEL. The ticker is going to stay TEL, and that's not dilution. It's just it's not a redenomination either. This is 1-for-1. And the only technical change will be its divisibility. So today TEL is 2 decimal places. It divides only into those 2 decimal places. Anything else is just rounded. And the upgraded TEL will be divided cleanly into 18 decimals. And that really lets us price gas efficiently and effectively on Telcoin network and to plug into that standard infrastructure everywhere else. Number 2, I think a big question is, how do I upgrade? There's, a lot of different platforms where TEL is available. So one official page is our plan. Okay, it's going to be published and verified by Telcoin Association before anything begins. This will be our upgrade portal. Users can navigate to the website using a familiar domain. They connect the wallet that holds their TEL on the network that they are already on. There's no additional bridging required to upgrade. It'll be on Ethereum, Polygon, and Base. And all the upgrades are supported directly. So users will need to approve and confirm, pay the gas on the upgraded TEL transaction, and it will arrive in their wallet in the same transaction. So the association does not assess an upgrade fee. It's just normal gas fees. And, we asked the security researchers to look into ways that we could even minimize the gas fees in our contracts as well. So if you hold TEL in the Telcoin app, it's another big popular one, staked or unstaked, you'll be able to upgrade directly within the app. We're working closely with the application team to make sure that they have all the resources needed and questions answered in order to support Telcoin app holders. So if your TEL is staked or if it's in a TELX pool outside of the app, you will need to unstake and close that position first, complete the upgrade, and then restake and rejoin the new pools. TELX specifics are going to be coming through the TELX Council and their local council meetings. But as that information becomes more clear, we'll be updating the FAQ page to make sure that it's as easy to retrieve this information as possible. And we do appreciate feedback from the community, so please let us know. All right, so question number 3 that I would like to address is, how long do I have as a TEL holder to upgrade? Well, the current proposal has 24 months, right? That's 2 windows. And the first 12 months are the primary window where we encourage everyone to upgrade. The full 1-for-1 upgrade is going to be available to everyone the entire time. Is unlimited. It's only limited by the actual supply cap of TEL 2. So that second 12 months is an extended window that I described earlier, and I would try to clarify on the proposal. But basically, it will be entered, that remaining gap between the 100 billion TEL 3 supply cap, whatever the difference is between the unminted portion, that will all be minted, so everyone can verify the 100 billion new TEL 100 billion supply cap. At that time, half of this remainder will be half of this newly minted in this month 12, this amount of TEL that's minted. Half of that would go to the compliance council's purview to finalize, and we'll have that clarity here in the coming months on how that will be managed and allocated, including paths for other edge cases and concerns that the community has been brought up. All this is designed to be finalized once we have data through a compliance council improvement proposal. And the other 50% we are going to be putting into a similar upgrade contract. The mechanics are just slightly different, where users will transfer their old TEL and receive a transfer back. So that vault after the 12 months is more of a vault instead of an open mint. And that is still a 1-for-1 with no additional fee overhead. So during that transition, though, Legacy TEL can still be traded wherever venues support it. But Telcoin Network itself will only support the upgraded token. So if you want to be part of the network economy, you will need to upgrade and join the 18 decimal world that we've been enjoying for and in other ERC spaces. Great. So, before I move on to the last question, I do want to go back to the question 2, essentially how do I upgrade? And specifically for application developers, one thing that slipped my mind is that if you have TELs that's staked in the app, we have added support, and this was also in scope for the security audit that was just completed. That the TEL that is staked already in the app contract, users won't have to go through a bunch of additional gas fees, and they'll be able to auto unstake, upgrade to the new TEL, and restake, and that's in a single action. So it's basically just a series of steps through a single call, so that just to try to minimize the overhead and the complexity of the entire experience for those users in the app. All right, so I think I'd like to let's address one more question, and I think we can kind of cover the big bases, and then again, happy to answer any other questions from the community and councils on the call today.
Sounds good.
So the fourth big question I think that I'd like to address is that, and I'll say this every meeting until the upgrade is complete, and as focused on safety. So there will be exactly one official upgrade page from the association. Contract addresses will also be published, and they'll be verified across official Telcoin Association channels before any of this starts. Nobody from Telcoin will ever DM you or ask about your passphrases. The legacy TEL will stay a gray logo, and so the upgraded TEL will maintain the standard familiar Telcoin blue. There's no KYC required for the self-custody upgrade. That is on chain. We will have tutorials, reviews, and just how users can verify that contract information when they're signing it. We recommend hardware wallets or Telcoin app, but even if you're using MetaMask or a Rabi wallet, all of these wallets are supported for the upgrade. So again, nobody from Telcoin will ever DM you an upgrade link. There is no airdrop. If a link has arrived in a private message or an ad, or there's an unofficial channel, or there's some way to get more than a 1-for-1 exchange, we see a lot of these, and they're all scams. Please, if this is approved, we want everybody to be very careful that they are just checking their resources. And again, we're working on having a lot of that information available with clear examples once this is passed. So everything else, the exchanges, the custodial platforms, and the partial ballots and specific wallets, we'll be covering that as well in the FAQs when we have explicit specific instructions. So yeah, I think I'll stop there and happy to answer any additional questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I'm sure everybody knows that we're transparent, so we'll share everything and put everything in the FAQs as we collate all the responses and put it all in there. So awesome. Thanks, Grant, for clearing that up and sharing that.
Maybe confirm once again the FAQ URL. It's just simply tel3.telcoin.network. That's the only URL for the FAQs.
Yep, perfect. Awesome. Thanks for that, Blue Lights. Alrighty, thanks, Grant. And yeah, the FAQ URL is also on the stream as well, guys. Alrighty, so then the last item on the agenda before we go to the Q&A is going to be the TELIP. That was basically a refresher from an old TELIP that we had from last year. It was the governance director rules for the Telcoin Association. So we're just bringing it up, and it's on here on the agenda, just to let the community know that we've been discussing this internally at great length, actually, and we are working on it. It's from last year to this year, the Telcoin Association, the council has really upgraded. A lot of things have been improved. We've been improving on everything across all fronts, and we are continuing to do so. So we're going to probably talk more at length on the next call, and we're open to anybody to comment, within the forum post itself. But yeah, we are just bringing it up here on the agenda that community, we hear you, and we're discussing it internally. And once we figure out a structure that works and all of that, we will discuss it further, of course, as always. So let's move on to the Q&A, where we can, the community can answer or ask any questions. Derek, did you see anything over there on the stream as far as questions go?
Yeah, give me one moment. I'll scroll up.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, let's see. There's a question. Do you foresee any budget constraints / issues due to the price action or price dropping this low? I believe some of the budget wasn't spent last year. Will this be used this year? Do you see any operations being affected?
I think that we will likely do, so yesterday we had our financial and ops group. Basil was our rep from Storm, who's been leading that hand in hand with Leo. And so, yeah, everybody went through the full financials within the councils. And I think we'll probably do, a funding proposal in the coming months to ensure that we have everything we need for mainnet. So, yeah, we have, the runway we need for right now, but in a few months, I think we're going to need more. And we really want to bootstrap this on-chain economy in a way that is, it brings all of the supply of goods and services and security on-chain in a way that we can demonstrate meaningful real-world products, starting with on-chain remittances, Forex, across different corridors end-to-end and beyond. So we're working actively on all the different areas, from the technical development to the ecosystem partnerships at launch, as well as all of the ways that we're considering deploying protocols and with partners. So we'll have more information in the coming weeks. The plan is to do another proposal though at some point and make sure that it's takes into account. We walked through how some treasury management things with our financial ops side and otherwise that we're going to implement in the future and in this next proposal. But stay tuned.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Parker.
We have another question about, let me see, if there's any updates on the game company.
None as of late, but we, now that we're going to market and, we're talking to all these different applications, it's a good time to check back in with them and figure out the status there. So we'll get back on the next meeting with them. Leo, if you could lead contact with them right now and set up a call, I think that would be useful for us around here.
Yeah, and just to add in a little bit of additional context there, one of the upgrades opportunities with the TEL3 contract that presented itself was an opportunity to upgrade the TEL3 staking contract for application developers. Telcoin Holdings also funded that audit as well. So one of the biggest challenges that we've had on chain with TAN was, our plugin system, so that application developers who want to stake TEL for their app users to earn rewards, all of this is managed on chain, but the solution was still had some work to do, and we really only had a use case at the time for Telcoin Holdings application, and it was only designed for Polygon exclusively. So with this upgrade, a lot of the NOAA and a lot of the core protocol team and Chase have been took the opportunity to really upgrade the way that the application contract handles plugins and staking for application developers. So this is a really big upgrade that is really it was built to be for prioritizing Telcoin network, TelV3, but it also it lets us scale up, and it's so much easier for DApp developers to integrate with TANs. So I forgot to mention that earlier, but that is a really exciting development. I'm personally excited to see come to fruition, hopefully.
Awesome. Thanks, Grant.
All right. Let's see. If the new proposal voted about the TEL token upgrade, I think they're asking when, if everything goes to plan or goes to vote and everything, when will we be able to switch to TEL 3, or will it be able to do it with mainnet launch? So basically, when is that going to happen?
Mhm.
Ari has his hand up also. If it's pre this comment. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I think I was mistaken. So yeah, the question is when, if everything goes to vote, when will they be able to do the migration or the?
Yeah, I think it depends on when we go to snapshots. So I be personally, I am as a author of this and like a big proponent, I think I'm ready to move forward to snapshot, and that's something that I'd love to have feedback from the council today too. So but we could move forward to snapshot as early as tomorrow. I do want to clarify that we have had direct communication with compliance council and the proposal and the update there, and essentially leaning on them and their authority to make this TEL 3 upgrade a reality. They seem on board. Of course, they will also have an opportunity through the veto window at the end of the TELIP process, or anytime during the TELIP process to if there are hard changes. But essentially, let's see. So we are at. So if we put this to snapshot as early as tomorrow, that'd be July 17th. The first phase would be through the platform council. So we would be looking at Friday, July 24th would be the 1 week for platform council, in which case the Treasury Council could put it to vote on their snapshot. And that is a 3-day window. So we would be done on the 27th. And then there is a compliance window. So effectively, we'd be looking at July 29th for the TELIP for TEL 3 to be approved, officially approved. The next phase of that process would be to launch the Telcoin governance improvement proposal, the TGIP. And the reason that the TGIP is a requirement is because the association's constitution lists the contract address for the TEL token in the constitution. With this new contract, they'll have a new address. However, it'll be the same address on all EVM chains, so that'll be nice. But that would still need to take place in order for the association's constitution to ratify this change. That is another 7-day period, and again, that requires a 20% quorum across all miner groups, validators, stakers, liquidity miners, and developers. So yeah, we will need the community's support, but also your active participation in order to get this token upgraded. So yeah, we will be going through the first process with the snapshot for the global councils. Again, I'm ready to move forward to the snapshot. That's something that I think if there is any other dissenting opinions, I would please speak up during this meeting. Otherwise, yeah, I just answer that question. I'll yield my time. AJ, I know you had your hand up as well, so thanks.
I was just wondering, Grant, if you were going to put out some documentation on the developer contract upgrades that you were talking about?
Yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to. It is also an open source GitHub repo. But yes, that's a great idea, and it's something I just haven't had a chance to do yet, but I'll definitely circle back to that. And yeah, we can talk to Derek and Leo and the other tenant council members to see about getting that more organized in public documentation in place. Yeah, great idea. I just realized though, I started with the date. So if we do get the snapshot in by tomorrow, that would be July 17th, and we would be looking at the full proposal, TGIP included. That would be finished by Tuesday, August 4th.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to go over that repo with some stuff. We can definitely look at that. Happy to help from the TAN perspective. Let's see. Do you all think the chain is still launching this year, or are we waiting for the Clarity Act?
We are launching this year. We are launching as soon as possible. As soon as we have done all of our due diligence and uncovered every single nook and cranny we can in the code to ensure that it has been manually verified as secure and ready for production. We are on a warpath. The protocol team has never been so productive. And with our new latest edition, Oni, he's really just come in, hitting the ground running. All things considered, I think we are really just we're on the final stages of crossing our T's and dotting our I's, so to speak.
Awesome.
Let's see. How long after mainnet launch do you anticipate to really be generating revenue? I'm assuming they're asking about the network.
Derek, I'm not sure I understand the question, or if somebody else has an answer.
I think operational revenue, or i.e. gas for council specifics, or I think that's the question.
So what I can just say is that in terms of just backing out, the global vision here is to create a unified ledger that connects every local currency and market into one global internet for money, markets, and ultimately everything. And so that's a big vision. It's going to take a while. We've seen a lot of chain launches. I've seen at virtually every single chain launch, and a lot of times what you see is just a tremendous amount of hype that ultimately is, in a lot of cases, ends up with a lot of meme coin volume. And what we're focused on is bringing real world meaningful use cases that enable people to send and exchange money and ultimately everything over the internet. And so that's going to take some time. We're going to build, instead of focusing on being everything for everyone, we're going to deliberately build out the right set of products as a collective association and set of private entities and individuals that really showcase what this technology can do in terms of solving everyday problems for people all around the world. And so starting with the money transfer and banking and exchange, and then everything on top of that. So that's really the primary primitive. That's what we're trying to focus is on getting the minimum viable segments in play, and MVPs, and having something that we can show the world. Yeah, blockchain is awesome, and here's why, especially when you plug it into the global banking system and enable telecoms to bring it to their users. So I think that putting timelines on that is a pretty tough game to play, but it's also not how we're looking at our launch. We're not looking at this launch as let's on day one we're be the biggest in the world, and it's going to be this massive billion X growth. But it's going to be sort of brick by brick, product by product, that are actual things that help. So I know that can come off as a non-answer, but it was really meant to convey is that we're working towards this deliberately to solve real problems and grow at a true scale organically, by building the best systems and products, but not being everything for everyone all at once.
I will just add to that too, that, that's one of the biggest values I've seen, I've received so far from like the strategic advisor that we're working with. He's got a ton of insight, a ton of industry knowledge. They have, a lot of real world examples, and they understand the problems for our primary use cases for Telcoin networks. So yeah, I think big things are coming, but the brick by brick is the right approach, because we are building a foundation so we can build our skyscraper. And it's got to be really, really sturdy.
Awesome. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Parker.
Second question, I guess with that, have any other companies decided to build on the Telcoin mainnet?
Yeah, I mean, we're in talks with dozens and dozens of companies and partners that across the entire supply chain for blockchain, all the way from, Oracle providers to mobile financial services providers across telecoms. So, it's the full stack of crypto on chain to enable these use cases. Just, every vertical you can think of, we're talking to the important folks that we can, and developing alternative strategies if those don't work. And so, yeah, there's a lot, honestly, just at varying levels, from validators to developers that are interested, and groups that GSMA members that want to be the first mover for the stable coin in their country. We're just seeing all of that across the board coming, and so we're going to facilitate that. But anything that comes out publicly will be, the sort of declaration that they have launched and are launched. So you can look at that where you'd like, but we're certainly in a good spot as it relates to our core markets we're targeting.
Great. There's a few more here. Will a proposal for new funding potentially delay mainnet launch?
No.
Okay. And then, will the Telcoin network have a burn mechanic?
Yes. So burn, there's burn mechanic, where a portion that is a governable parameter by the councils once it reaches the threshold of 20 validators, where a portion of all block rewards, fees, and issuance on the network will be burned from the supply and then regenerated into the Treasury for future allocation towards provisioning and appropriation. And yeah, we're certainly in discussions about other burn mechanisms within the network, and we'll bring those to the floor when they're ready to be unveiled.
That's right. And importantly, a distinction for bridging perspective is that Telcoin network will not burn leaving the network. That will actually be locked on Telcoin network, and we'll have all the off-chain tokens allocated in Genesis to guarantee the 100 billion token supply. But what that allows us to do by using a native token bridge on Telcoin network is that Telcoin network will be the canonical source of truth for the total token supply across all chains, all EVM chains.
Great, thank you. And I can answer this question. How much Telcoin do validators need to stake? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, it's 1 million per node. Is that correct?
Yes, to launch, we're 1 million TEL staked. The consensus contracts that were just audited, they are designed to be flexible and future-proof. So as the network grows, staking can also grow.
Great. I think we already answered this, but how many nodes are currently deployed on testnet?
I don't have those exact numbers. That I've kind of lost track. There's a lot of nodes on testnet right now. One of our, it's actually, it's a good problem to have, but it's, it's made network protocol upgrades kind of a lot more real, which is exactly what we're trying to do, is get as much experience on a testnet where it's not real value before we hit mainnet. But there's lots of nodes on the network.
Awesome. Those are all viewable as well on the block explorers that have been posted. So I believe I'm at the end of the stream questions. And if I missed one, please feel free to throw it in there.
So I guess we can also open up the floor. So if there's anybody, if there's anything else that people want to put in the next few minutes, you want to give them a minute or 2 minutes, Derek?
Yeah, usually by now, everything's been asked.
Okay.
Should be okay. And if anybody has additional questions that we miss answering that come through, I will post them to be answered on Discord.
Okay, awesome. Very good.
Question, James. If you want to, basically, we operate through, conceptual unanimity in our decision-making rules, because we have 4 different minor groups that all have different interests and preferences and roles and benefits, activities. And so, this notion of unanimous consent is built into the constitutional level, where the TGIP proposal and it ensures that all 4 minor groups affirm the proposal, an 80% approval rate. It's the same in terms of a supermajority across all the councils, and even fully unanimous on the Treasury Council. And so it's really critical that we discuss, when you're operating a system of unanimity, what matters is the minority. If there's a minority objection, then the system proposal doesn't meet the needs of everyone up to a certain degree, right? It's 6 out of 8 on the platform council and 4 out of 4 on Treasury Council. So my question, as a long-winded way of getting there, is: does anyone object to us submitting this snapshot proposal, whether that's in the councils or the community? And if so, could you please step forward and provide your rationale so that we can work towards a final solution and get this to market?
Well, none from me. So I'm ready to go.
I'll let you know if anything comes through the chat in the meantime.
Okay. So I guess we'll give it maybe a minute.
That seems like a reasonable amount of time. Messi could score like 6 goals in a minute, so
There's a lot of happy people around the world right now, and there's a lot of very sad people around the world right now.
Hey, James, you want to restate just one more time, in case people weren't listening, what the ask is from the community?
Yes, if there's anybody that is basically opposed to the TEL-v3, the token upgrade, for you to come on and ask any questions, or if there are any council members as well that want to discuss it publicly, or ask any questions or debate it here, feel free to do so.
Thank you. I am seeing, I know Thad has been active in the forums, and Thad, I'm not sure of your questions. I believe they've all been answered. If there's one we missed, please type it in and we'd be happy to address it.
Yeah, he's quite active on there, which we appreciate from the community.
And I'm just going to navigate to the forums really quick and double check as well.
Okay. It's definitely vital that everyone in the community is participating. So definitely feel free. We welcome any and all questions.
I do have some of these pulled up, I believe. Let's see. Parker answered this earlier about financial statements, but one of the questions is there any financial statements that Telcoin can provide regarding financial health of a project? With there being multiple requests for funding, it would be nice to understand the financial state.
Yep. So basically, over the past 2 weeks, the previous office hours, not this week, but last week, we did a bit of investor relations with the association's councils on the Telcoin Holding side, providing detailed insights into everything going on there, and more will follow. And then we met with financial ops with the councils and our provider Storm externally yesterday.
Yep.
And
And that went well. So we're going to provide more detail in a newsletter, sort of, everything up until now and what's coming next, sort of thing from the TAO that we're working on. That'll also include some funding proposals alongside it, so that it's super intuitive for anyone in the community to see what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with multiple jurisdictions, guys. So we just had the meeting, like Parker said yesterday. So we're going through all that. So we of course don't want to share anything until we have everything all collected and organized and all that first.
And I think probably two more. I'm just going through all of them just to make sure. I believe the answer to this is no, but are validators and testers and MNOs currently testing with TEL 3? If not, can they only start testing once all the council approvals are provided?
It's a little bit of like a technical nuance, but essentially on Telcoin network, they are testing on testnet nodes. Testnet is running the same exact code that mainnet will run, except there's no perceived social value on those tokens. So from a technical perspective, yes, they are testing with TEL 3 on Telcoin network protocol, which is the native token on Telcoin network, just like Ethereum is the native token on Ethereum. So, but the actual value, TEL 3 itself, that the TEL 3 token that has value does not exist yet. It will once this proposal passes. But until then, there is no concept of what we're referring to throughout the proposal process as TEL 3 does not exist yet.
Great, thank you. I believe all the rest were answered, and then the only other one I have in the chat is, does 1 million TEL per node seem like a low amount? And they feel that is not a large commitment.
Yeah, then this is one of the nuances of Telcoin network. It is a unique protocol. Telcoin network is largely it's a consortium of mobile network operators that create the validator set. With that, in order to stake on the consensus contracts and to participate and become eligible to earn block rewards and to become recognized as a validator node on Telcoin network, governance has to onboard that entity, and then there will be an NFT that is transferred to that MNO wallet that allows them to stake. So staking is largely at this stage, there's multiple layers, and this is just a security best practice, right? The security in layers. So it is kept with an NFT that can be revoked at any time through a governance multisig, and then there's also an additional economic layer for TEL, which at this initial stage is set to 1 million, but it can be increased or even decreased over time depending on the price of the token, or if, let's say, we wanted to lock up more token supply onto stake contracts, etc. So there's a lot of flexibility into the future. This is just where we're starting.
Hey, Grant, could you maybe, I think there's an underlying supposition of, it's not much skin in the game for 1 million TEL. Can you just give a really brief overview of the technical aspect, the staffing aspect, those kind of aspects? Because the skin in the game is not just the 1 million TEL. that they're staking, right? It's going to be the technical upgrades. It's going to be working with you on the time zone, et cetera, like different things that you've discussed with us internally. Could you maybe just share some, like, just so people can understand, the community can understand that it's not just the 1 million TEL?
Absolutely. So there is a lot of off-chain precedent, and these validators are well known. So you have a traditional proof of stake blockchain, and we'll just talk about Ethereum because we'll just talk about Ethereum. In that blockchain protocol, validators are not well known. They are essentially anonymous. I mean, there's some that I've advertised names and that maybe you recognize their address, but anybody with enough Ethereum can stake and participate as a validator. There's the benefits of that is anybody can join and help validate blocks on the network, and that's what the term decentralized is usually referred to. But it comes at a great risk of security because anybody could be running a validator node on the Ethereum network. And so there has to be a significant, and again, security through layers of slashing and a stake and, something that makes sense from to discourage bad behavior on the network. Mm-hmm. For Telcoin network, we have major enterprises that have very strong reputations that are spending hundreds of hours evaluating and assessing and not only setting up this infrastructure, but moving systems, designing the future of how they can take advantage of this chain. I mean, it's a huge investment, but not let alone from just their reputation that they're joining this project, and even internally too. Even if they haven't publicly marketed their participation, the perspective of employees and just that whole, I mean, these are very large enterprises. There is a large cap here. So the amount of time and the engagement and the questions and the thoughtfulness, and that's just to get to the NFT issuance so that they can stake and then turn on their node to start participating. There's just a lot of skin in the game. So ultimately, what we've designed is a very flexible system that we are asking for the 1 million TEL upfront. For a lot of our early participants too, this is a very new territory, and so this is just ultimately where we've started with feedback. But again, if we decide that there is that the reputation is insufficient, that we need more economic stake, so to speak, in the game, then we have the opportunity to increase that requirement as the network grows. But for this early stage and for early adopters and for part of our sponsoring these early validators too, this is sort of it's kind of a middle ground for us. And again, as the token appreciates, it is a relative cost right now, but yeah, we expect this to grow over time and to evolve and change, but this is just the starting point.
Awesome. Exactly. Thanks, Grant. Yeah, it will change as things go. And if anybody studies any chain that actually started, go back to when they started, go back to when they went to mainnet. There's all sorts of different things that changed from when they started, but all the incentives, all the programs were very different when they first started, grants, programs, those kind of things. So we just need to get to mainnet for it first, and then we go from there. Alrighty, Derek, was there anything else that slid in, or we're good?
One last one from Hamilton, who we haven't seen in a while, so I thought I would point just, and I think I can answer this, but Grant, please correct me if I'm wrong. There was a question of will the network run okay without the token upgrade and when launched, and it is, from lack of a better words, the structurally, from a bridging and a gas perspective and cross-chain liquidity, it is planned to be solely on V3. So it wouldn't be something where it can run in the current iteration on both, right, Grant? Please correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yes. So exactly. And one of the biggest reasons for this proposal is the user experience. with a 2 decimal system, anybody who leaves Telcoin network, who moves Tel off of Telcoin network will lose Tel. It's just math. There's 18 decimals on Telcoin network, no matter which version of token we use. That is the native token, and that's a requirement EVM. But if you move Tel off Telcoin network, then you will be leaving dust behind, and there's no way that we can accurately attribute that to the users. Like I said, if you come back to Telcoin network, it's just but that there's a lot of complexity there, and so what we're asking is we think that this makes the most sense on the 18 decimals, but regardless of this proposal, I think it would be a dramatic improvement. I think it would really help us with exchange listings and just the overall perception of the TEL token as a standard ERC20. But we are committed to getting mainnet off the ground regardless. So this would be a setback, but it would not be a nail in the coffin. We're getting mainnet off the ground either way.
Awesome. Perfect.
Great.
Good.
That's all the questions.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you everyone for joining our 42nd Platform and Treasury Council meeting. As always, we appreciate your participation. As far as the next calls go, the next meetings are going to be dated July 30th, August 13th, and August 27th. 2026 is the year of Telcoin. Mainnet is coming. MNO validators are setting up and actively testing. The telecom blockchain standard is becoming reality. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys.